So as you can see, we're at the entrance to Costa Teguise, these rather famous white gates built by César Manrique to welcome people to what was then the new resort. You can't really see the beauty of these gates until you look at them from above. But they're a really clever piece of design. We want to do something a bit different this week. The plan is to talk about the original plan for Costa Teguise, which we're now looking down to. If you go back in time to the 1970s, there was nothing there. In the early 1970s, it was just a piece of coastline with a nice bay. Tourism was just kicking off on the island in Puerto del Carmen. In Carmen they had the Farallones Hotel and the San Antonio Hotel, one at each end of the strip, and quite a few apartment complexes in between the two. But that was the only resort. And it was decided that the island needed a second resort. And it would have to be man-made because there wasn't anything here in this sort of central part of the island at the time. Everything you're looking at now, all those buildings, just didn't exist. Private funding was sought for it, and it was provided by the Rio Tinto company, which is a very big company in Spain. They bought millions of square meters of land down here, and the aim was to develop it into a really upmarket resort. César Manrique was very heavily involved, and we'll talk about the parts of it that Manrique, and show you the parts of it that Manrique was involved in. So the plan was, it was going to be a 5-star resort that would open in the 80s. It would have a central heart called Pueblo Marinero, which was designed by Manrique. It would have a 5-star hotel, which at that time, when it was originally launched, was marketed by Sheraton, so it was called the Sheraton Salinas Hotel. At one end, Pueblo Marinero in the middle, and at the other end there would be some really upmarket apartment complexes like Los Molinos, and Manrique was involved in the design of all of those. History tells us that it never really took off as a 5-star upmarket resort, and we'll talk about that when we get down there, about what happened and what kind of saved it in the end. But let's go down now and have a look at the what's now called the Paradisios Salinas Hotel. We're back in the 1970s, and Rio Tinto have bought 12 million square meters of land in what we now know as Costa Teguise. And they want to create an upmarket resort here. The first thing they decide to do is to build an upmarket hotel called the Salinas, because it's built on what was previously as Salinas, the old salt pans. There's a conference centre to the left there, a big entrance statement here, lovely pools out at the back. It was designed by the quite famous architect Fernando Higueras. And it became the island's first, and for a long time, only 5-star hotel. What Higueras did was hire César Manrique to model the inside of it, and we're going to show you that in a minute. This mural is his, of course, stone mural on the walls. As are these beautiful gardens. So Rio Tinto have got their hotel, which is going to be 5-star in construction. As I mentioned before, they signed up with Sheraton to market it for them as an upmarket 5-star hotel. What we needed next was some kind of centre for the resort, and that's where Manrique steps in again to create Pueblo Marinero, and we'll head there in a moment. We've got our hotel, our 5-star hotel at one end of the bay that is Playa Las Cucharas, and at the other end Pueblo Marinero would be built, designed by César Manrique. Pueblo Marinero means kind of fisherman's village, and his aim was to create somewhere that had the feel of a traditional fisherman's village. And this is it. So you've got traditional looking Canarian buildings, apartments upstairs, bars and restaurants downstairs, a central courtyard, a beautiful Canarian balcony going all the way around it, and this magnificent tree in the middle. And if you look carefully, it really does have the feel of a small fishing village. There's even a water filter system there. He even designed in a little bandstand so that local groups could play music at night while people enjoyed drinks in the bars all around it. It had a fairly ornate entrance with bougainvillea on it. And as you can see, the architect here was Alfonso Galan. It was created and designed by César Manrique. Opened in 1982 after a 3-year build. So we've got the hotel at one end of the beach. We've got Pueblo Marinero in the centre. And the next thing that the planners set out to do was to create some more affordable accommodation on the island, in the resort. And again, Manrique was heavily involved in that. And we're going to head to what was created to that brief. We're another few hundred meters on from Pueblo Marinero, and we are at Los Molinos, so called because it was the site of some windmills, and created by César Manrique. These are apartments and duplexes, and again a lot of classic sort of Manrique styling to the interior, using lots of planting and natural light. The whole place again has a very kind of villagey feel to it. Lots of little nooks and crannies and curved walkways leading through gardens. And right at the front here there's a lovely private swimming pool. We can't see into it because it's closed at the moment, and it should only be accessed by owners and their tenants here. And when this was built, obviously this opened up onto nothing. You could probably see the sea, which is behind the buildings we're looking at now. And during this build process, the King Hussein of Jordan became very interested in this new upmarket resort going on here, and he had a house built about another 700 meters down on the coast there, with a helipad in it and a private swimming pool, to be his own holiday home. He eventually gifted it to the King of Spain, who in turn has gifted it to the state, so it now belongs to the state and is used regularly by prime ministers, presidents and the royal family, of course. We'll be blocked from walking past that bus queue, people getting on the bus in a moment. But where are we? We've got this new upmarket resort has a 5-star hotel at one end, Pueblo Marinero in the middle, apartments like Los Molinos on the outskirts. The King Hussein of Jordan has a property here. So we're now in the late 80s, perhaps just moving into the 90s, and the resort is failing dismally. It is not achieving anything like its original objectives of being a 5-star upmarket resort. Why is that? Well, a number of reasons really. I think there wasn't enough here at that time, so although the hotel was nice and the apartments were nice, there was kind of nothing between them. But I think the biggest failing was that the island just wasn't ready for upmarket visitors. It was at that stage very basic. Electricity was still being generated by a World War II destroyer, so power cuts were frequent. A lot of the roads were dirt roads, and I don't think Sheraton did a very good job marketing the resort, so it was failing dismally. You might be surprised to find out what saved it, and we're going to have a look at that now. By the early 90s, the elements are in place. There are a few more commercial centres going up. The speculators then came in and they started buying up plots of land to build small villas, apartment complexes and stuff like that. Unfortunately, a lot of them went by the wayside. They either went bust and construction was stopped, or they got into planning difficulties, and hence we have the famous skeletons that you see, basically half-completed buildings all over the island. So by the early 90s, the resort was failing dismally, certainly had failed in its objective to create an upmarket resort from the island. And I said you'd be surprised at what saved it. The answer is timeshare. And this is Sands Beach Resort, which was built around that time and sold as timeshare. And it's an absolutely massive place with, I can't remember whether it's 5 or 7 plazas of properties. It's got apartments, it's got duplexes, 5 swimming pools. It's absolutely huge. And the reason timeshare saved Costa Teguise was because the timeshare company started flying in loads and loads of British and Irish people predominantly on cheap packages with a view to selling them timeshare here at what was then called the Lanzarote Beach Club. And they were massively successful. They sold loads and loads of weeks, kept extending the place. There was a rumoured LBC2, which is going to be built at the side of it, where there's a sort of palm tree farm over there. That's where LBC2 was going to be. So what happened is that you had this great influx of British and Irish people who came. Many of them bought timeshare, which meant they started coming back every year, which started supporting the local businesses. But also what was happening, I mean, let's imagine, I don't know what the numbers were, but let's imagine that 20% of the people who were being flown in ended up buying a timeshare. Well, the other 80% were being exposed to Lanzarote and particularly to Costa Teguise. And they liked it. So by the time we arrived in the year 2000, Costa Teguise was a really bustling resort. It certainly wasn't 5-star, it certainly wasn't upmarket, but it was full of families, mainly British and Irish, who were enjoying all the things that this resort has to offer, which is a fantastic beach, lots of great bars and restaurants, and at that time budget priced accommodation. So there you go, that's the story of Costa Teguise. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed making it for you and researching it. Have a great weekend. We'll catch up with you soon. Bye for now.